All right, I think we can slowly start. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm happy to be here and talk today about using AI with Playwright for UI and API testing. My name is Michał Ślęzak. I'm a test architect at SII Poland. I have been working for 6 years for the company, and I've worked for different projects, including healthcare, banking, and many others. I've also spoken at several testing conferences, including Star East in the US, Nordic Testing Days in Tallinn, and TestCon in Vilnius. And I continue to be an active international speaker. Additionally, I run a blog about test automation, where I write about using Playwright and other modern testing tools. If you have any questions, please contact me by the email. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn. Let's talk a few words about SII, which is managing this webinar. SII is one of the largest IT outsourcing companies in Poland. It employs over 7,300 people across various projects, technologies, and industries. And at SII Testing Competency Center, we employ more than 1,500 experts. We deliver testing services across different industries. We have completed 350 projects for customers from different industries like retail, banking, healthcare, and many other industries. We offer end-to-end testing services that includes the discovery phase, where we analyze client needs. Then we select the appropriate approach and tools and this type of things. Also, we use AI-powered solutions, from test automation to reporting, of course, where it's useful and helpful. And we use different tools, enterprise tools and open source tools. We have partnership with market leaders like Mabel, Tricentis, Tosca, and many others. And if we talk about open source tools, we use Playwright, Cypress, Selenium, and many others. So if you have any questions about the offering, as I've already mentioned, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can use my email. Let's move to the agenda. First of all, I'm going to talk about Playwright, what Playwright is, and then it will be time to talk about ideas of using AI and present some demos for you, how to leverage this integration. And of course, I will talk about challenges according to use AI in your projects, because this thing is also very important. Finally, it will be time for Q&A session. So let's start with the presentation. What is Playwright? Playwright is an open source tool. It has been created by Microsoft. I would like to emphasize this fact because, from my perspective, if we talk about choosing a tool, it's important to have a company which supports that, because, as you probably know, development is expensive. And Playwright receives often updates. I think in almost every week we can get an additional improvement. Also, we can use Playwright for API and UI tests. And even though we can use the integration of both approaches. So let's imagine that we create our test data by API, then we verify everything on the UI. And Playwright out of the box supports a few programming languages such as TypeScript, Python, C#, and Java. And first of all, I'm going to show you the vibe coding example in 1 minute. As you probably know, vibe coding now it's very popular. You can find a lot of examples in the internet, on LinkedIn. You can find a lot of different usages, but I also would like to highlight that yes, vibe coding can be interesting to check it out, but it has disadvantages as well, like our flexibility is limited. From my perspective, it can be good for our case, like create an application for learning test automation, create a Playwright playground for testing purposes, but it's not production ready. And also another disadvantage of using vibe coding is that, yeah, even though we create something by vibe coding tools, then still we need to understand everything, because what I can see, for example, on technical interviews, that quite often people use Copilot, AI-based tools, but without them, it's tricky for them to write any line of code. So still, please develop your technical skills, because I think also it's very, very crucial. But let's watch it, the demo. As I'm using a prepared prompt for you, like create an application to learn Playwright Microsoft testing tool. The application should include a simple API, a basic database, UI controls, and so on. And let's watch it, how it can look. And as you can see, the code is generated and everything is available, and the application is available on the public internet, so I have access to that, and each of the control is available. As you can see, we have the calendar component, registration form, canvas, so a lot of useful controls which can help us to learn test automation. So if you previously, it could be sometimes it was tricky to find the correct application for learning test automation. Now we can generate that easily. And of course, if we talk about test automation, one of the most crucial thing is using REST API for a backend test. And as you probably know, that backend testing is very, very important. And Swagger library is a very popular library which provides for us the whole REST API. So it contains an entire API with our methods, parameters, and so on. And we can leverage a Swagger JSON file which contains that, and use that in a large language model context window, then generate some automated tests. So let's watch the demo. So as I've already mentioned, I was preparing for you the prompt. So using the Trello Open API specification, create an automated test in Playwright with TypeScript that performs the following steps, and so on. Then, as you can see, we have generated code which follows solid principles. It uses interfaces and a lot of useful design pattern. It uses a lot of patterns from solid principles. It implements that. Of course, I don't want to say that always it generates the good code, because quite often we need to add additional improvements, but in this case the code looks pretty well. And I think one of the most interesting usage of AI-based tools is using them for code review. As you probably know, code review is a crucial thing because we prepare a lot of code. We need to have a review from someone, and using AI-based tools like GitHub Copilot, CodeRabbit, and others, it can help us to have additional check by additional tool. And of course, now it's tricky to save how much time we can save, because still we need to have human review, but it can help us to at least save some time and avoid potential bugs. And another thing is using that in a real demo. So I've prepared that for you. So I have a test for login form, and this test has some additional comments which were added by Quodo. Quodo is another useful tool for doing the code review. And now let's play the demo. And as you can see, the Quodo has added additional comments and information what was changed in the code. So it can be handy to have that in our code. Also, it shows us what we can improve in our code. So in this case, there are a few hard-coded values, like using URL and using some static const data. And also I added Copilot for that, and Copilot has added additional improvements, and Quodo can support also webhook. So in this case, I added analyze command, and it analyzes the code again. And I see that Quodo has suggested to use a few additional edge cases. So I think that these test cases are not the best. So not always these suggestions are good, but in a lot of cases, at least it can help us to avoid potential bugs. So for that, I think that AI-based tools can help us. All right. And another useful integration is using Report Portal with Playwright. Report Portal is the open source tool which can be our test automation dashboard results. So we can integrate a lot of different tools like Playwright, Unit, SpecFlow, and many others. Also, if a particular integration is not available, it is quite easily we can add an additional integration, because Report Portal offers REST API. And what is also interesting, that we have machine learning capabilities. So we can use machine learning to classify our failures and identify flaky tests. And how to do that? So I have prepared for you I have prepared for you the code, and I have a test which is entering to a particular page, and it's a Trello application. Then test tries to log into the application. And first of all, the test will pass. Then I will change the value to show you report portal in action. So let's go through the demo. And as you can see, we are entered to Trello. We have these test results available on report portal. And I need to remove previous settings to have a fresh settings for report portal. Now we have all of logs. The test passed. Now I'm going back to the IDE and I'm changed the value to the wrong password. And now I'm going to run again the test. And as you can see, that test will fail, but we need to wait for a while. All right, and we got the error that it's okay. And now we need to decide by ourselves what is wrong. So report portal has a functionality for assigning a reason what was wrong, and in our case is we need to update our password for the test, and now we can see that test failed, and I'm going to run the test again from IDE. And you will see the report portal magic in a while. And again, test needs to fail. It failed. And now I'm going to test results. And as you can see, automatically report portal assigned the status from the previous analyze. So it's very useful because we can spend less time on analyzing our test results. All right. Another useful thing is Playwright MCP. So MCP now is very popular protocol which is available on the market, and it's created by authors of Claude large language model, and it can extend our large language model capabilities. So now we can use additional tools from the large language models context window. And in this case, we can use Playwright MCP library, which is created by Microsoft team. And instead of using the real code, we can use plain text to perform some actions by Playwright. Then we can create a test, automated test based on this actions. So I'm going to show you, and as you can see, the prompt is quite easy. So navigate to the application. So in this case is my registration form. Then use some basic test credentials, and then create a test for that. So let's start with it. And as you can see, in this case, Claude has opened the browser and a particular URL, and also it fills action by action in the browser. So we can see step by step what is going on. Of course, I have done this for the demo because in a normal case we can speed up this execution because we don't need to accept each of action. And as you can see that Playwright MCP has done everything, and the code generated by Playwright MCP looks like this. I don't want to say that this is the best code, but to be honest, at the beginning, it looks like quite solid. If we have some experience, we can easily refactor and improve that. So I think that MCP can be interesting idea for next in future, and also not only Playwright MCP is available, also Postman has this integration, and step by step more tools have it. So I think that now it's beginning of this journey with MCP. And next thing, if we talk about test automation and leveraging AI capabilities, now we have a lot of useful IDEs which have AI capabilities. In this case, I recommend trying to use Cursor IDE because I like this one, and I see that it has a lot of useful capabilities, and it was one of the first. It was one of the. It is one of the best AI-based IDE. Of course, I see that Visual Studio Code now is developing, so step by step, maybe Visual Studio Code will be the first one. But to be honest, I think that it's not important which IDE we use, because a lot of useful, a lot of IDEs have additional integrations with AI-based tools. So I think that it's not a problem. It helps to develop different things, but please keep in your mind that still we need to develop our technical skills, because as I've already mentioned, I think that using only LLMs without developing our technical skills, it can be a problem in future. And now, even now, I see in technical interviews that people have problems with basic tasks because they accustomed to use Copilot and other tools every day. And of course, I understand that they can help us, but if we use something new, that it's better to learn these things by ourselves. All right, next I'd like to introduce you how Cursor can help us to refactor the code. In this case, I have a page object, but I don't like this structure that all of these elements are initialized in constructor, because I prefer to have these fields not in constructor. So I put this thing in my prompt. Then I would like to use a page object and also loading JSON settings by the file. And let's watch it. So, and as you can see that Cursor with LLM help us to add additional improvements. So instead of using hard-coded URL value, now we have a JSON file which is useful because we take this value for the test, and other improvements also are good. But also, it's worth highlighting that we need to have the knowledge to check this output, because if we don't have the knowledge, that it's tricky to say that everything is done in it's done correctly. And also it's the reason why I recommend developing your test automation skills still, because then we can utilize AI capabilities more. All right, and another useful thing is using LLMs for generating page objects, because for generating code, I think that LLMs have some problems, but for transforming from the one format to another, LLMs work pretty well. So in this case, we have login form, which is my demo login form, and I use this HTML from the HTML form, and then I use the following prompt based on this HTML: create a page object for Playwright following solid principles. And let's watch the video. And first of all, the output was too long. I had many methods which I didn't need, so I add an additional follow-up prompt. I don't want to have other methods, only one login form. And as you can see, that Claude in this case simplified the code, and now it looks better. All right, and if we talk about using AI capabilities, one feature which is added in Playwright now, that we can use copy prompt button and copy the prompt to any LLMs, and then it can help us to deal with potential problems and debug the code. So this button is very handy. And another thing is, if we talk about integration AI with Playwright, another idea is using Playwright CodeGen plus AI, because Playwright CodeGen is a tool which is available out of the box in Playwright, so we can follow. We can record all of our actions, then generate our code from these actions. So it works like record, and then we are recording something, then we have the code. But to be honest, the code is not the best one, and quite often it needs a lot of refactor. But what if we add the AI integration? So I'm going to show you how it can look. So I'm going first of all to record a simple test by Playwright CodeGen, and now we have the Chrome browser. So I need to enter the URL for the login form, and I put my credentials. So first of all, my username, then the password, and at the end, I add an assertion. And as you can see, this is the code what Playwright CodeGen generated for us. And so now I'm going to show you the refactor process. I have a prompt like this that act as a senior test automation engineer with 10 years of experience, write a maintainable and scalable test, and as you can see the rest of the prompt, and then we can observe the difference. And what can be interesting in this case as well, that this test in this case will work without any change. So refactor worked in first run, and the code looks like much better. Of course, I don't want to say that everything is done perfectly. Of course, no. Always we need to have our knowledge, but all of these tests work properly. And and another thing what can be interesting for you is that in future we probably will be less associated to a particular tool, because it's easier, much easier now to migrate from one tool to another. And at SII we have the challenge that for one customer we had examples. We had automated tests in Selenium and Java, and we moved to Playwright and TypeScript, because instead of rewriting a lot of code, we could do that in a few days. And I think that it's a function of LLMs which can help us, because I've already mentioned that for transforming from one content to another, LLMs work perfectly. Of course, still we need to have the knowledge how to do that, and it's not always easy, but still it's easier than before. And but please keep in your mind that the technical knowledge how to do that also can be very important, because not everything is so easy to migrate, and sometimes we need to add additional refactor without using LLMs. But I think in future it can help us to be more flexible. And another interesting thing is, if we talk about using AI and integrations for that, is using Playwright with Mabel. So Mabel is no-code solutions for creating automated tests for UI and API, and it has two interesting AI features. First of all is using Gen AI assertions. So instead of using assertions that we are checking if something is appearing, we can add a plain text and natural language, and then check if elements are visible, even if we checked more complex page like a table or something like that, even a video. So we can create a screenshot, then check if everything is visible. And finally, PDF testing also, it's interesting, because instead of parsing PDF content, in this case we can add natural language assertions and check if everything is visible. So I like these two features. And also you can find Auto Playwright library. which is still maintained, and it's an open source library which has open AI capabilities. From my perspective, it's interesting to check it, but to be honest, for production purpose, I see some traps because we can use AI capabilities, we can use prompts, but as you can see on the screen, it uses prompts like natural language. So from my perspective, using that in the code, it can be a problem. So I don't recommend using in this way because with LLMs, not always we have the same response. So this test could be not stable. And also on the internet, you can find different additional libraries. One of them is Playwright Zero Step, and also you can find a lot of articles about that, but I don't recommend that because this library is it has been unsupported since 2023, so it's a very long time. And also, if we talk about challenges, now I'm going to move challenges according to use AI in your projects. First of all, we need to learn how to prompt, and I recommend reading a book. It's a good book, The Art of Prompting by O'Reilly, and you can find a lot of useful examples why something is working, why something isn't. And also quite often we need to add additional iterations for our prompt to get the particular response. So you need to experiment with that, and still we learn how to do that. And also, if we talk about challenges with AI and LLMs, I see a lot of different challenges and potential risks. First of all, I see a risk with protection data. I think we need to know differences between enterprise own instance of OpenAI, then using a public ChatGPT and a private ChatGPT. And if you want to use in your company AI features, please check if you can do that, because it's very, very crucial and important. Another potential threat is intellectual property, because we can find examples when LLMs use someone designs. So also it can be a problem with the code, because we see that these tools have access to different code. So also it can be a threat in future. And as I've already mentioned, that prompt sensitivity, it's a crucial thing. We need to learn how to use that and still have the knowledge how to check the response, because without this knowledge, that we can put a lot of errors and potential bugs in our code. And if we talk about challenges, of course, I think one of the most popular challenge is hallucinations, because if you work with large language models, probably you came across this problem, and you can find that, I think, every day if you use LLMs often. So I think that we need to remember about that. Then we have too much reliance on that. I see that over reliance on AI-based tools is very popular. I talked some time ago with my friend who is a professor in Polish university, and she told me that now students don't try to resolve a problem, but at the beginning they put the task to the ChatGPT or another large language model. So I think that it's a crucial to learn our technical skills, because I'm a technical assessor at SII, and I think that I have provided approximately 100 interviews, and I don't see now that the level of candidates are higher than before. So still we have problems and challenges with programming and basic concepts. I don't want to talk about theory, but I mean to talk about using practically some basic stuff. And another thing is, moreover, the marketing hype. You can find a lot of content everywhere about using AI, but still we need to understand what large language model can do now, and the guidelines like the ChatGPT or another language model has PhD capabilities. It's not true. So please keep in mind that. And at the end, I want to recommend a few articles which I have written. First of all, about Playwright, how to create the framework. I have written 2 articles about that. It's available on at SII blog, so please read it. And also I have written a few articles about using Playwright for visual regression. You can find that on my blog. And again, this is the contact to me. If you have any questions, please contact by this email. And that's it from my side. Thank you for your attention. And now I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I see some. Okay, I see one question. I think I can. Now you can see that. So the question is, could you please repeat the name of the book about prompting? Yes, of course. The Art of Prompting. The Art of Prompting. It's very useful, and I recommend to read. And yes, of course, after the presentation, I can put links to this articles. What are, or maybe another question, what are those basic questions you said that candidates have problems with? Oh, thank you, Kasia, for the question. I think with basic programming tasks, and I don't want to say that you need to resolve very tricky algorithmic task, but I mean, for example, streams in Java, or for example, filtering collections in TypeScript. For example, we have 2 lists, and we need to take the same elements from 2 lists or from 2 arrays, this type of stuff. So I think that typical basic programming tasks. And sometimes I see that candidates have problem with writing a proper for or something like that, because I understand that they are accustomed to use Copilot and other tools. I understand that, but if we don't have this programming basics, first of all, we need to learn that. Then, of course, we can use this type of helpful tools, but at the beginning we shouldn't do workarounds, because it will be a problem. for us, because the knowledge, it's important to develop that. All right. So about the articles, yeah, I can send that. What else? Okay, maybe. What are the currently known limitations of Playwright? It's tricky I don't see, I haven't had this type of a situation. For now, I think almost everything is possible to automate by Playwright. I think that the tricky part is quite often related to the application which we test, because if we have some limitation with the application, that it can be a problem. So sometimes it can be a problem with using parallelization, because we have limit of users which we can use. This type of thing are more popular from my experience. So yeah, but to be honest, also in Selenium we can do almost everything, or in Cypress. It's related to our experience. But why I like Playwright? Because a lot of things are out of the box, and we have a big community, and it works fine. But of course, these type of things are possible to achieve in Selenium as well. So it depends on, and also Selenium is slightly different tool, but yeah, it's another topic. All right, I see additional question. Oh, can we use it for mobile apps? Oh, it's a very interesting question. For now, Playwright doesn't have this type of integration. Of course, we can test web applications and emulate, for example, iPhone or another device, but we can't test native applications. I saw in GitHub that someone has created a tool which I think it's based on Appium, but the syntax is quite similar to Playwright. So probably you can check this one. But for now, still, if we talk about test automation for iOS and Android, Appium is the best one. All right. Okay, I see a few questions. I see a question about my setup. I don't use Sublime Text IDE. I use Cursor for now, but also I use Visual Studio Code as well. And also, please keep in your mind that Cursor is built on the top Visual Studio Code. So almost everything almost is the same. So yeah. And what else? Oh, question about it's an interesting question about Python. Is Playwright in Python popular in terms of number of jobs? Do you use Python or TypeScript? How do you like them? Oh, thank you for the question. So in Poland, I see that Playwright is more popular with TypeScript, Java, and C#, and much less in Python. But I know people who use that with Python as well. So as I know, it can work perfectly. I haven't used this integration with Python yet, so I don't know what is different. I think that the async mechanism is slightly different, but as I know, it's possible to deal with that as well. And yeah, personally, mostly I use TypeScript, C# and Java. And I like TypeScript because it's better than JavaScript. It's quite similar to C# in some aspects are similar. Of course, the syntax is different, but concepts are the same because, of course, C# is from Microsoft, also the TypeScript. So I like both of them, but Java also works perfectly. I used Playwright with Java. All right. Okay, I see a question about my IDE. Yeah, so I like Cursor IDE, but yeah, Visual Studio Code also is good. Someone asked about the reporting. So reporting in Playwright, we have a lot of different options how we can generate a report from Playwright. But the report portal, first of all, you need to have instance of report portal, but is the open source tool, so you can install on your local machine or on your network. So yeah, it's doable. But even the basic reporting capabilities in Playwright are good. So we have trace viewer and many other useful things. So yeah, Playwright has a lot of different integrations. So also you can set up Allure and many other report libraries. And what else? Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of questions I covered. All right. Okay, I see a question about the report portal. Hi, I have a question related to report portal as we are using it currently in the company. Can you elaborate more about AI triaging of failed test cases? Does it works between different branches and how I can turn it on? I haven't seen such option before. Yeah, so you need to use AI analyzer. So first of all, you need to set up this one. If we talk about branches, it's more tricky to do, but yeah, it's doable because we can add also for a specific launch attributes, which can help us to understand a particular run. But out of the box, it works like this, that we can check everything with so test with every test with another. So yeah, but yeah, we can do different setups also with branches should be doable. Thank you for the question. And someone asked about the Playwright background. I can send the link, but to be honest, it's on the public weak server. So I think if everyone will use that it won't work. You can quite easily generate your own. So yeah, if you watch the presentation, then and also if we talk about having a useful place for learning test automation, also you can set up additional applications. For example, I recommend setting WordPress. WordPress is a quite easy content management system. You can do that locally. You can do that on the public internet, and quite easy. You can create a shop and then you can figure out different test cases, hundreds of them. So I recommend this approach if we talk about more for a better path for learning test automation and trying to prepare more complex test cases. And yeah, what else? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see a question about MCP. Yeah, I think it's good that someone asks, so you don't need to. Sorry for that. No, Playwright MCP is not the record and playback. Playwright CodeGen is record and playback. Playwright MCP is that you put everything in your command prompt, context prompt window, and then everything is performing by the LLM. Of course, yeah, if you find a more complex test case that you can spot some errors. I don't want to say that it's something which, it's something which is a threat for us, because still, as I already mentioned a lot of times, we need to be I think we need to be someone who help to control these tools and still connect our knowledge with these new tools. So yeah. So why it's outstanding? Because yeah, we can do a lot of things now in large language model window and then use other tools. And we have the protocol which communicate between these tools. So this is the thing and why it can be interesting and beneficial in future. Yeah. All right. Someone asked about moving from Selenium to Playwright. To be honest, yeah, it's a very interesting question. To be honest, it depends on how your Selenium tests work, because if they are good, I think that it's not always necessary to rewrite your test from Selenium to Playwright. It depends on, because yeah, we need to remember that Selenium it's more like a real browser than Playwright, because Playwright is slightly different, but of course we can achieve a lot of things. So if your tests are good, you use parallelism, your execution time is short, and you have a stable test, maybe you don't need to do. Of course, Playwright can be faster, but yeah, I've already mentioned that it's slightly different, the using of browser. So yeah, it's also too important to think about that. And yeah, and also you need to put this effort for rewriting. But yeah, if you can utilize LLMs for that, it can be done quite easily. So of course, if your tests are bad, still you need to put your effort to refactor, because yeah, Playwright can help with, for example, with auto weight. It's out of the box and it works better than Selenium weight, but still we need to have knowledge how to deal with potential challenges, and at least we need to do that by ourselves. So yeah, of course, every tool has pros and cons. I think that out of the box Playwright have the best capabilities, but still we need to knowledge how to cover more complex scenarios and so on. So yeah. All right. What else? I think that someone asked about the Playwright MCP, that we need to click one by one action. No, I've already mentioned about that we can set up in our in the IDE that we will have automatically each action will be done automatically, so it speed ups everything. But for the demo, I wanted to show you how it works out of the box. Even though about Playwright MCP, I have written an article about that in my blog, so you can find that and check it out. And yeah, I put some examples how to set up in your environment. All right. Okay. 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 What else? Okay, about this one. Okay. I see a question about, so not let code stuff. Basically, people struggle with real life examples of interacting with elements. So if I catch up the question, so I'm not sure, but yeah. Of course, yeah. I don't know, to be honest, to what was the question. So if you can add the follow-up question, it can help me to to understand that. Oh, I see the question about agentic AI. To be honest, I see a lot of, marketing stuff about agentic AI, but I don't think that we are on this level now. We can have some productivity boost from large language models, of course, but from my perspective, it's maybe 20, maybe 30%, but I don't see that agentic AI, it's a real thing. It's even tricky to find a correct using of that. If you have any examples, I'm interested in that, because yeah, Playwright MCP can help us to do that, but for now, from my perspective, it's more like an experiment. Of course, using Copilot and this type of stuff can help us to increase our productivity boost, but on the other hand, we need to remember about developing our skills, because also it can be a threat. So, pros and cons, but agentic AI, I saw on some marketing landing pages, but if I try something, that it doesn't work. All right, and what about? Oh, I see a question about, what about making atomic test in Playwright utilizing fixtures and API DB setting? Yeah, of course, I agree. It's a very good approach to prepare our test data before the test, and the fixture mechanism is very useful. And yeah, of course, in this article on SII blog, I explained the fixtures idea, for example, how to inject the page object by this mechanism. So yeah, please check it. Maybe it can be interesting for you. But yeah, of course, I agree, because yeah, one thing is creating our automated test. Another thing is having efficient execution time, and for that we need to use parallelism. And if we want to use parallelism, we need to have atomic tests. Okay. All right. Okay, what else about scrapping? As I know, people use that, but you need to check also from security and from legal perspective if it's doable, the scrapping the internet, because yeah. All right, what else? I see the question about another slightly different question about, you mentioned covering code from C# to TypeScript. How would you approach converting tests from Selenium to Playwright? Yeah, if you can use LLM in your organization, that yeah, it's good to use good prompts, and you can do that. But first of all, you need to check if your automated tests in Selenium are good, because if you have a lot of different problems, first of all, maybe you need to understand what you need to change in your next refactor, which we will do in Playwright, because only change the code, it's not enough quite often. Quite often, if we do refactor, it's good to think about using solid principles, for example, like using interfaces, maybe dependency injection, using fixtures, using test data for UI tests. So a lot of different aspects you need to understand before the migration. But then, of course, you can, if you have your permission in your organization, that you can utilize large language model. Okay, about recording, yeah, we have the, okay. I see a question, and the interesting features released lately you use and like. Is there anything interesting planned for next releases? You know, I don't know about next releases because, yeah, of course, I have public information if we talk about Playwright. But yeah, of course, in every, you know, Playwright has release notes, and you can observe there what is going on. Also, they have a YouTube channel. Debbie, who is a manager from Microsoft, present a lot of useful ideas, what is going on according to new Playwright features. Also, there is available a Discord channel. Also, you can ask if something is interesting. But yeah, it's a lot of useful things in every update. They add something new. So yeah, it's tricky to say what can be interesting for you, because for me, yeah, we have a lot of useful things, and the best option is following the release notes. Okay, and okay. I see a question. Did you test Claude Code? You mean that if I check this code, what Claude has generated? Of course, yeah, because of course I recommend you to do that, because as yeah, hallucinations and traps can be spot in this code which is generated, and of course I have seen a lot of times this type of thing. So yeah, of course, I recommend to do that. Okay, all right. About recording, we have the information. Okay. Oh, I see a question about where do you see manual testing going from this point forward? It's a good question. I think that exploratory testing still is a very important thing, but I mean that for good skills in exploratory testing, we need to have technical skills. So we need to understand how the internet works, how our protocols are working. We need to understand REST API, Chrome DevTools. If we have this knowledge, we can create more interesting test cases. If we talk about simple test cases that everything is written and then we perform them, I think that this type of thing will be automated more, because yeah, according to use test automation now, it's possible to do that. So yeah, I recommend to develop your technical skills, because yeah, it's very important. Also, you can think about security. If you don't like programming, also security can be interesting. Of course, still we need to have some knowledge about creating scripts, but we don't need to code like a test automation engineer engineers do. And still, I think that if we talk about test automation, that we need to develop our skills, technical skills like using programming, using HTML basics and this type of stuff. And I think that always we can learn something new. For example, Docker also can be interesting. So it's a lot of areas which we can cover in our learning purpose. Okay. I see the question about, yeah, but I see focus on automation and less on testing skills and strategy. To be honest, I don't think so, because, you know, test automation for a lot of people is, yeah, it's interesting because quite often it's related to their hike. So yeah, I think this is the reason. But to be honest, I think that I mean that testing skills are also associated with technical skills, because if we don't have specific knowledge about basics in IT, that still we have, that sometimes we don't know what we can test, and you know that our exploratory testing skills are related to our technical skills. I don't think about programming, but I think about network and this type of stuff. And I think it's also crucial. Also, for example, for people which don't have an IT background, because for them quite sometimes it's trickier to find more complex test cases, and yeah, to have ideas how to test something. But about strategy, yeah, of course, in this case, I agree with you. Sometimes we should talk and start with that. At SII, we do that for our customers. So first of all, try to understand why we need test automation and other things, and specific tools, because sometimes at the beginning we have some problems. Also, if we talk about testing scope, I see a lot of problems in that, because it's a rarely situation that people know why we have this amount of test cases, why we have 100, why not 1000, because the telemetry also can be interesting to check how our application is used by users. And yeah, so yeah, in this part I agree, because testing skills I think are related to technical skills. But if we talk about strategy, that's true that we should talk about that more. Yeah, I know many automation test engineers that have no idea what app they are writing tests for, or have ever gotten their hands dirty with the business. Yeah, I agree with you, of course. Yeah, for this thing, we should have a person who knows about business perspective, then also the technical skills. Of course, it's the same with developer. If we have a developer who is interested in a whole domain, that quite often this person knows better how to deal with potential problems. So yeah, I agree. All right, I think that, okay, maybe last question. I see that, can a task like connecting to Microsoft Reports server be automating using Playwright? I don't know, what do you mean? You mean about using report portal, or because Microsoft Report Server, I don't think, I don't know what you mean in this case. But if we talk about report portal, we can send our test results to for example, to Report Portal or another tool, but I don't know what you mean. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much again that you participating on this